What is up, everybody? And welcome to episode 67 of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nunez, and I'm here with Mark and Austin. Fellas, it's Thursday night. There should have been more sports on tonight. But the Yankees game got postponed, and the Sabres game is blacked out, in my area at least. So, unfortunately, I'm sitting here watching Bears Commanders on Thursday night. And I will say on the first drive here, just to preamble a little bit, Fields looked pretty sharp. It's good that he's playing against a high school team, but he did also just get sacked now that I'm watching it. But I'm not 100% sure that he's thrown a pass yet. That's beside the point.
What's a better matchup, this or two Texas high school football teams?
That's a good question because the Texas high school football teams will be able to score points.
Yeah, exactly. I'd much rather watch that.
That's
give me Arch Manning over this bullshit.
All right, so we're gonna get into the show. We're gonna talk about the wild card weekend recap. I kind of want to focus on the teams that were eliminated. You know what their outlook is moving forward, that kind of thing. You'll have plenty of room to talk about the teams that are still playing. So we'll do that, and then we will look ahead to week 6 of the NFL season from a betting perspective, as we do normally. But first, check in real quick with the FanDuel contest from last week, as this Bears offensive line crumbles like a shortbread cookie against one of the worst pass rushers in the NFL. So pretty high-scoring week again, I'll say. Josh won last week, finished in first with 153 points.
Jesus.
A high amount. He had both Gabe Davis and Leonard Fournette.
Yep.
So he finished in first. Give me 1 second. I am texting someone. Great podcast. I don't want to say it out loud. I put something in the hot stove chat. Austin finished in second, 131.28 points. I finished in third with 128, which is a respectable score for third.
Yes.
Not gonna lie. And even then, Mark, who finished in fourth, 103 points.
Yeah, that's higher than I would expect to finish in fourth with.
Yeah, can't shake a stick at it, really.
Yeah.
So it looks like I'm updating the points right now. And through 5 weeks, Josh is in first place with 15, Mark is in second place with 13, and Austin and I are now tied in third place with 11. So still scrunching up a bit there. Now we're going to get to those lineups for week 6 at the end of the show, but start it off this week. We're bringing trivia back. I got a couple of trivia questions for you fellas. I got one basketball one. I have one baseball one. So NBA season starting next week. I'm very excited about it. We're ready. We're firmly in the prime sports time of the year. With the NHL season having started a couple of days ago, football's in full swing, MLB playoffs, college football. I mean, starting this upcoming Tuesday, we get 27 straight days of football. It's a true statement. 27 straight days of either college or NFL football.
I know about the old Wednesday Maction.
Right.
So
right. There are Tuesday games starting this upcoming week. So
let's go.
That's it's too much football. It's too. I'll say
almost an entire month straight.
I'll say it. That's too much.
So depending on how, I believe it's how the ALCS or NLCS goes. Like one of those championships could align where we get the sports equinox this year. If I remember correctly, the most plausible date is October 27th, so 2 weeks from today. If I remember correctly, it's all going to depend on those championship series and when they're going around. So be on the lookout for the sports equinox coming up in a couple weeks. We'll start here with the baseball question. Mark, you remember? Actually, I won't preface that because it would give something away. Never mind.
Okay.
This is a Miami Marlins related trivia.
Shocking.
This is all Marlins. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put my AirPods in while I'm talking. So there are only 2 Marlins players in the history of the franchise. So what, 25 years, something like that? A little bit over that.
Yeah, about 30. Yeah.
Yeah, close to 30 years. There are 2 Marlins players who have had a 30-30-30 season. That would be 30 home runs, 30 steals, and 30 doubles. I want you to tell me those two players.
Hanley Ramirez.
Yes, I was
Hanley
going to
Ramirez
say
is one.
Austin. Why don't you say the one that I know because he was an answer a couple of weeks ago?
He was. He was an answer to a different trivia question a couple weeks ago. I love Hanley Ramirez.
Yeah.
Yes. Hanley Ramirez is one. The other one, I'm pulling up his numbers right now so I can help you out a little.
30.
This player did it in 2000, a year in which he hit 31 home runs, stole 36 bases, and hit 35 doubles.
Sheffield?
2000. Nope. I'll give you a couple of other hints. In that same year, in 2000, he led the National League in strikeouts with 187, which comparatively isn't really that many when you think about it.
No.
He is a one-time All-Star, and this was in 2003 with the Colorado Rockies. A year in which, in 2003, his year with the Rockies, he paced the National League with 141 RBI and 36 homers.
Moises Alou?
But 2000, he had 264 steals, 35 doubles. This is not Moises Alou.
Okay.
I don't know if I got anything here, Mark. It's might be all on you.
This player played from 1998 to 2007.
Oof.
Spent 5 years
team?
with the Marlins.
You said he played with Chicago in his All-Star season?
His All-Star season was with the Rockies. It was in Colorado.
Preston Wilson?
It is Preston Wilson.
I'm sorry.
Son of Mets legend Mookie Wilson.
It is Preston Wilson. Yeah. That's a pull right there, Mark. So yeah, Preston Wilson and Hanley Ramirez are the only two Marlins with a 30-30-30 season.
We get the same amount of points for that.
Yeah, that's
You're not wrong.
That's true. That's true. All right, I have a basketball question for you. This one comes courtesy of Thinking Basketball. It's a great podcast that I recommend you listen to if you're interested in the ins and outs of basketball. They're currently doing an update on their 40 greatest careers list, in which this came up. So there are 6 players in NBA history who have won both a scoring title and an assist title. 6 players.
Wilt Chamberlain.
No.
Did he not win the assist title the year he averaged like 8.5? I thought he did.
Nope.
No. Magic?
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook is correct. You gotta remember, he averaged a triple-double 2 straight seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mark's
Russell Westbrook
Magic.
Magic Johnson is incorrect.
LeBron?
LeBron is correct.
Oh, really?
Yeah, point guard LeBron in LA averaged like 11 assists.
Yeah. I think his assist title was recent. Magic, by the way, 4-time assist leader, never won a scoring title.
Wow.
Okay.
Highest career average in points was 23.9.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Huh. I'm
LeBron was the assist champ in 2019, 2020, so the bubble year. And he was the scoring champ in 2008.
That's it? Only one scoring title for LeBron?
Only one scoring title for LeBron.
Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robertson is correct.
I'm just thinking triple-double. Triple-double.
Harden.
Oh, that was my next
James Harden is correct. Yep.
You rat.
So you're down to last 2. Oscar Robertson won 6 assist titles over the course of his career. His only scoring title coming in 1968, where he scored 29.2 points per game. That he is one of the 2 players to do it in the same season, I believe.
Oof.
Let's see here. Russell Westbrook. I'll get you some more numbers here. Russell Westbrook is a 3-time assist champ in 2018, 2019, and 2021 with the Wizards.
Oh, yeah.
I'm having so many ads come up on my Basketball Reference right now that I can't even hear the podcast. So anyways, and he was a scoring champion in 2015 and 2017. But yes, we have 2 more. Both of them played in roughly the same time period. I'll get you those numbers real quick. One player played from 1961 to 1974.
Well, Clyde Frazier?
Nope.
No.
The other one almost entirely overlapped with the first, or didn't over, like the Venn diagram is almost 2 circles.
Yeah.
Played from 1971 to 1984. Both Hall of Famers.
Both Hall of Famers.
Not surprising, given that there have been 6 people that have done this.
Player 1 won a scoring title in 1970, averaging 31.2 points per game, and an assist title in 1972, averaging 9.7 assists per game.
So this guy was just better at the end of his career? Cool.
He did definitely get better over the course of his career. Yes. I mean, he was consistently great over the course of his entire career. But the second player won the scoring title and the assist title in the same season, 1973, in which he scored 34 points per game and averaged 11.4 assists per game.
The player 1 isn't like Elgin Baylor, is it?
It is not.
That's what I was just thinking.
It is not. I will say that player 1 in this stat here was mentioned a lot in the Elgin Baylor episode of this Thinking Basketball series.
God, I wish I listened to this podcast.
I don't know, Mark. I think we just stay on the Laker grind here. You know, you got Russell Westbrook, LeBron. I mean,
Jerry West?
Jerry West is correct.
Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't think of any Laker greats. I'm just trying to throw Mark hints now. I couldn't think of anybody who would actually have done this.
I never would have thought of Jerry West as that big of an assist guy is the thing.
I'm sticking on the Lakers. There's got to be more guys out there.
The final player did not play for the Lakers.
I was going to say, if it isn't Jerry West or Magic, then it's...
Okay.
Like I said, the final player did both in 1973. He also paced the league in minutes per game that year, playing for the... It's not loading. The Kansas City Kings.
The Kansas City Kings.
Oof. Back when the Kings were relevant.
Yeah, I mean, let me just think. You know, I was just studying the Kansas City Kings the other day.
If you were wondering, this player did not win the MVP that year. He finished 3rd in MVP voting. The MVP winner that year was Dave Cowens, one of the more random MVP winners of all time.
Dave Cowens, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of like 70s and 80s point guards. But
This man has a very recognizable nickname.
Um,
I don't think this guy was that good. Is it Tiny?
It is Nate
Tiny
Archibald.
Archibald?
Yeah,
Oh.
Nate Archibald.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't realize he was that good. He was just first nickname that came to mind for a guard.
Nate Archibald. So the 6 players that have done it: LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and Nate Archibald. 6 players to win a scoring title and an assist title. Oscar Robertson and Nate Archibald being the 2 that did it in the same season.
Wow.
So that's a fun fact for you. That's trivia, bitch.
That is trivia.
That's Dallas.
That's Dallas. Let's see. You guys want to do another trivia question? I got more.
Fuck it, why not?
I got 2 more. 2 baseball questions.
Oof.
Hell yeah.
I got one with 2 answers and one with 7 answers. Which one?
Oh yeah. That's the good stuff.
One of them deals with plate discipline. The other
Juan Soto.
The other
Ted
deals
Williams.
with OPS plus.
Juan
The-
Soto.
Let's just go with both.
Let's do both. Why not?
Let's do both.
All right. So the first one, now that Austin said it before, you don't get an answer for it. So there's one other player other than Juan Soto. Active players. There are 2 active players. One of them being Juan.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did you lose him too?
I lost him.
I lost him as well.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear a lick, Nunez.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
He's
boy.
gone. He's gone.
Big plate discipline is
I'm back. I should be back, right? Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus. Apparently, I was messing with the mic too much, so I thought I must have unplugged it on accident.
Oh.
Anyways, okay. So other than Juan Soto, there's nothing if not technical difficulties on this stupid show. Other than Juan Soto, there's one active player. Mind you, it's minimum of 1,000 career plate appearances. One other active player with more walks than strikeouts.
Joey
It is.
Votto.
Don't look at your screen.
It is not Joey Votto. Yeah, I just watched it happen, Austin. It's frankly not Justin Fields' fault. It was bad with the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Nunez, it's still not coming through the proper microphone, just letting you know.
Okay, give me 1 second. I can fix that.
Active player.
It's coming from my AirPods.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be good now. We're good.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. It's not Joey Votto.
That surprises me. I can't believe he struck out more than he's walked.
Joey Votto has 1,338 career walks, 1,578 career strikeouts.
Wow. Minimum 1,000 plate appearances, you said?
I remember
Yes.
seeing the stat about this guy a couple of years ago, but he's been pretty bad for the last couple of years. But Albert Pujols?
It is not Albert Pujols.
I mean, he's been pretty bad for
Unfortunately.
a couple of years.
All right. So this player is 4 years into his major league career currently.
Okay.
Is at just under 1,600 career plate appearances. He doesn't do much of either. So in those 1,600 career plate appearances, he has 137 walks and 131 strikeouts.
Wow.
Yep.
He does none of either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luis Arias?
Luis Arias is the correct answer, Mark.
Nice.
Luis Arias.
Nice.
Yep. Luis Arias and Juan Soto are the only 2.
Arias walks 25 times a year and strikes out 22.
All right, one more trivia question before we get into it. There are 7 players, not including 2021, okay, or 2022. I'd like to point that out. I haven't run the numbers for 2022. I can check real quick. while we're talking, but there are, not including 2022, there are 7 players with at least a 125 OPS plus in each of the last 5 seasons.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout is correct. Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is correct. Yes.
Ooh. Starting to lose it.
Oh.
Um,
125, you said?
125 OPS plus or higher.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Incorrect. Remember Paul Goldschmidt had like a year and a half stretch where we thought he was washed?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then
Arenado?
Freddie.
It is not Nolan Arenado.
Freddie Freeman.
It is Freddie Freeman, and you can extend it to 6 seasons because each of these guys also had an OPS plus over 125 this year.
Oh, okay.
So you've already got Trout, Freeman, and Judge. But yes, they all did it this year, so it's each of the last 6 seasons.
Mr. Bryson DeChambeau Harper.
That is correct.
Oh, okay. Thought he had 1 year in there where it would have been lower.
Nope. We've got 1, 2, 3.
Our short, not so king, Jose Altuve.
It is not Jose Altuve.
I'm just gonna.
If I remember correctly, it would be 2020, where the Astros sucked during the regular season.
Oh yeah, the
Astros hitters just didn't hit well during the regular season, and then turned it on for the postseason. Yeah, Jose Altuve had an OPS plus of 71 in 2020. Not even close to his career mark, which is like
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts is correct.
Why am I not just guessing the best players in baseball?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
The last 2 players, one of them is an American League infielder, and the other is a National League outfielder.
Jose Ramirez.
Yep.
No.
Oh,
if you'll remember as well, Jose Ramirez had that 1 calendar year stretch.
Oh yeah,
I think it was between the All-Star break of 2019, or no, the All-Star break of 2018 to the All-Star break of 2019.
Yeah,
where he just he talked about how he was just like pressing too much for power, and that year it was almost like exactly a calendar year.
And then didn't he get so hot at the end of that 19 season that he finished 3rd in MVP voting?
I will take a look, but that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he finally figured it out in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
No, he did not.
Oh, okay.
He did not that year. 2019, he finished, or he didn't place in MVP voting in 2019.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that like year-long stretch kept him out of it. 2019, he had a 106 OPS plus in 2019.
He stunk for a year. He was still 6% better than league average. Guy was awful.
Yep.
So American League infielder, National League outfielder?
Yep.
Okay.
No.
I mean, Devers?
No, that's a good guess.
Doesn't qualify. His rookie year wasn't until 18.
Oh. Yeah, I forgot. It's each of the last 6 years now.
Yeah, so going back to 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and in Rafael Devers has actually had 2 seasons with an OPS plus over 125 or under 125, 2018 and 2020. Both of these players, even though they're different in position and age, are seen as pretty steady forces.
Just put up numbers.
Yep. The outfielder turns
Jose Abreu
is not Jose Abreu. That's a good guess though. The outfielder turns 24 in 12 days.
What?
Just steady contributor. It can barely drink, but man, he's a grizzled vet.
The other, or the infielder, turned 30 like 2 weeks ago.
I mean, the only outfielder I can think of, Acuna.
It is not Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't played. Yeah, but like, what?
You can't think of another young NL outfielder?
Is it Juan Soto?
It is Juan Soto.
Oh my God! Oh, I was brain rotten from the last question.
Of course, yeah, it is.
Soto. Why would
it is Juan Soto? Shocker.
Damn it.
His rookie year was 17. I thought it was 18.
His rookie year was 2018. So maybe, okay, then I think this was the last 5 seasons, including this year.
Including this year. Yeah.
Gotcha. We're caught up now.
That's why I didn't think of him initially. I was like, he didn't come up early enough.
My apologies.
The other one's 30. American League infielder.
Yep. Middle infielder.
Oof.
Dating back to 2018, his OPS plus has been no lower than 129 and no higher than 139.
All right.
I'm sorry, no lower than 128 and no higher than 139.
I've got 2 in my head. Mark, you say one and I'll say the other, you know?
Sure.
If you get it right though, I'm gonna be mad.
It's not Bogey, is it?
It is Xander Bogaerts.
What about Corey Seager? How close is he?
Let's take a look.
He had one bad year too.
He did, and Corey Seager I think is also only 27. Still, somehow, even though he's
entire time I was
Corey Seager is 28, and he's been in the majors since 2015. I just like to point that out. But he's also missed a lot of time. That's correct. Corey Seager's OPS plus this year was 119. And then in 2018, it was 103. In 2019, it was 112. 2020 and 2021, he had an OPS plus of 150 and 142, respectively.
I was thinking Bogaerts that entire time, but I was like, no, I think there's 1 year in there where it's lower.
That's why I mentioned that he was just a steady force.
Yeah.
Now, the fun thing about Xander Bogaerts is that every year he kind of changes what he's really good at. But every year he's really good. Yeah. Right. But next season he'll hit 17 home runs and bat 320.
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense, but Anywho, that's trivia. That was a fun bit of half an hour.
That's trivia.
So anyways, let's get into it. We got 4 teams that have been eliminated from the Major League postseason to this point. We're going to kind of talk about each of them, what maybe led to them having an early exit, and what the outlook is for those teams in the future. So we'll start in the American League and talk about the Tampa Bay Rays in their series with the Guardians. They were swept. The second game being the longest scoreless game in postseason baseball history. And I actually had this conversation earlier today with a friend of mine, friend of the show, Mike Schrader, talking about how you gauge quality in baseball games, right? And I think it's difficult to quantify what a good baseball game is, because then a case in point being game 2 of the Rays Guardians series, because that game went through waves of quality, in my opinion. So the first 7 innings, it was a really good pitcher's. You have Glasnow and Tristan McKenzie battling it out, right? But then after they both get pulled and the bullpens come in, for the next 6 innings, it's more like, how come neither of these teams can hit a baseball? These teams suck. This game sucks. That's the next wave, the next half of the game, right? But as soon as we inch towards the 13th, 14th inning, and it's becoming the longest scoring or the longest scoreless postseason baseball game ever, it then comes back around to being like really high theater and really interesting and just like waiting for one team to crack, basically. So I just thought it was an interesting case study of like what is quality in baseball, because that game went through large swaths where it was like really riveting, and then also the middle of it was annoying as shit to watch.
Yes,
to watch.
Certainly. It's one of those things. Everyone loves a pitcher's duel until the starters are pulled.
Basically, yeah. Like, everyone loves a pitcher's duel until the team should start hitting.
Yeah. And once the starters are pulled, it's like, all right, these are the bullpen guys. You can't get to them, even though every single person in Cleveland's bullpen has a 2.3 ERA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like a excuse me, and like a 35% strikeout rate to 4% walk rate. All of their pitchers had the same numbers. I've never seen anything like it. And so but then you get more arguably better pitchers in the game that are just lights out, and it's like, well, why aren't we hitting these guys? They're in the bullpen. They can't even start a game.
Right, but then it becomes full circle as you're waiting for somebody to break, basically.
And then, that game was the definition of a war of attrition.
Yep.
It's just, we're going to try to wear you down as much as we physically can with our 4 hits and, just try to get to your guys. I personally, I love games like that because the entire time I'm just like, all right, when's one of these guys going to crack? I can absolutely see why someone who isn't a freak like myself would be like, this game fucking sucks. But
I loved that game.
I thought it was a great game, man.
Yeah.
All these different pitchers.
I'll say that I'm glad I wasn't watching it. I was only getting updates while I was at work. If I was watching it, I might have become really annoyed by the time like the 8th inning came around.
I watched that game pillar to post. I saw the first pitch and I saw the home run. I watched 15 innings of 1-0 baseball. And I loved it, man. I thought it was great.
I think the case with the Rays is kind of hard to pin down. Like, I think the other teams kind of have stuff that you can look at and be like, oh, this is the reason why they weren't quite built to go far in the postseason, or this is the reason, or whatever. The Rays are such a singular case. And I think at this point, honestly, the Guardians are kind of just Rays plus. Because we talked about last week about how like Cleveland just has a lineup that I think fits so well together. That outside, but the issue being, of course, they have a Jose Ramirez, and to this point, the Rays don't have a Jose Ramirez. The Rays have a Wander Franco.
I was going to say they will likely have a Jose Ramirez soon.
Yes, that is certainly within the realm of possibility. But at the moment, they don't have a Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that kind of bit the Rays is just being the Rays. Because I think in moments like this, especially in such small sample sizes, consistently like average to above average bats that all coalesce together to be a good lineup is fine. But I just have a feeling that sometimes in the postseason specifically, and I know they were in the World Series 2 years ago. But it's important to note that they had the guy that year. Randy Arozarena played
Barry Bonds.
Played arguably one of the best like month and a half stretches of baseball ever in 2020. They didn't do that this year, and they didn't have like the guy. And I understand that baseball is a pretty singular sport in that way, where one person in a lineup, it's hard for them to have such a tangible impact on the rest of the lineup. But I do think that that's kind of just what held them back. It's not like their pitching is bad. Their pitching is very good. Their bullpen is very good. We saw that. It's not like Cleveland scored a bunch of runs. They scored 3 runs in those 2 games. In those almost 3 full baseball games worth of 2 games of baseball, they scored 3 runs. So I think the Rays are kind of just going to keep swinging the axe, basically, and hope that Wander Franco takes even more like sizable leaps forward. He's what, only 22 years old currently.
And he also didn't play a full season this year. He was hurt for quite a bit this year. So that, that stunts development a little bit.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. I have no worries about Wander Franco in the slightest. But yeah, it's weird to say about a team like the Rays that are there every year, but to say they're not quite there yet.
Right.
It's very strange.
It's a style of roster construction, I think, that basically means that like their floor is already pretty well established. So like if things break right, they can very easily get there. Like I said, we saw it 2 years ago where they ended up in the World Series. But because of their roster construction, I think things are less likely to break that right. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From a lineup perspective, I should say. They're a little less likely to break in that direction because of the players they have. And that's their style. And look, it's worked. It is unquestionably worked. I think the more interesting team to talk about in the American League is Toronto, who also got swept in their series, largely due to a Game 2 implosion by their bullpen. And I think that is... that I it's not something new. I was having this conversation with someone last week when the game happened. Like going into the season, we knew that the major weakness in this Blue Jays team is their not only just their bullpen, but their pitching depth as well. Yeah. Especially because someone like Jose Barrios had such a bad season. Like if you only have 2 starters that you can like really rely on, and then a bullpen where you have 1 pitcher that you can consistently rely on in Jordan Romano.
Yep.
That's again, especially in small sample sizes, like a 3-game series, it's more prone for that to blow up in your face, basically. So I think the Blue Jays this offseason, I think it's more or less really just about getting some more arms in the bullpen, some better arms, definitely. And maybe like a depth starter almost. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of amazing. Going into the season, we thought the 2 starters were going to be Gausman and Barrios. And then Alek Manoah was like, no, I'm gonna finish top 5 in Cy Young voting. Thank you very much. So they even had arms that sort of surpassed expectations, specifically with Manoah. And everyone knows how great that lineup is. I mean, just look at it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're right. All they need is more consistent bullpen arms. I would have loved if at the deadline they went out and got like a Raisel Iglesias or, some of these, big name relievers that were around and available. And, I know Iglesias had an ERA of like 4 when he was with the Angels this year. We all saw the stat yesterday. His ERA with the Braves was 0.3. Am I saying he would have been that good with Toronto? No, not necessarily. But all of a sudden you throw another guy at the back end of that bullpen that you can trust. And Raisel Iglesias is a guy that can give you 6 outs. He's not just a, one and done style of pitcher. He can give you extra outs if necessary. He would have been a perfect guy for them to go out and get. He won't be available this offseason. He just signed that extension last offseason. He signed like a 4-year deal to stay in LA. But I think this is a team that very easily could win the AL East next year if they had some pitching. And there's going to be pitching available. If Chris Bassett goes there, I don't think anyone should be surprised. He's the type of guy that I think they would love to have. Just 180 innings of 3.5 ERA ball. Thank you very much. Throw that in the rotation.
They should probably get a lefty that can throw well at some point. I also like to say that. Like I don't know as if they actually have a lefty other than Yusei Kikuchi, who's been terrible.
I was going to say, he stinks. So
right, exactly, that they relied on for innings. They had Hyunjin Ryu, but he didn't pitch at all this year.
He's dead.
So, a left-handed pitcher would probably do them some good at some point. I'd just like to say.
Imagine if they had a guy, lefty Cy Young caliber that threw like 96 and struck out 1 million guys and didn't go to Seattle and give up a bomb to Yordan Alvarez the other night.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Toronto's an interesting case, but I also think that like on paper, their downsides are more clear than some of the other
absolutely.
teams that we're talking about. Like the two NL teams are kind of hard to quantify where we go, because I think the Cardinals are an interesting case, because the Cardinals this season was almost like a house money kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like they had the guys, they're in an easy division, have the last hurrah for at the very least Pujols and Molina. I don't know if Adam Wainwright's coming back next year or not. But what I do think held them back in the most base sense was, and what will probably continue to hold them back moving forward, is just high-end pitching. They have, specifically in their starters, like they have good starters. Like Jose Quintana is a good pitcher, and he pitched really well for him. So same with Jordan Montgomery. Like he's a good pitcher. So is Miles Michaelis. He's a good pitcher. But like those guys are all like the same guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're all like good number threes in a rotation. I actually don't have much. I mean, it's not like they're losing all that much. I mean, I know that Pujols had a great season this year, especially for his age. Yadier Molina was one of the worst hitters in baseball this year.
Pulled a
prime
Mathis.
member. Yeah, you got a Mathis this year, which we can talk about that afterwards. I didn't know Jeff Mathis was currently playing in Major League Baseball until like 2 days ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're losing much on the hitting front, but I also think like even then they have, they had like pseudo breakout seasons from guys like Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar, who played pretty well for Nootbaar in particular.
Nootbaar had a really good year. Yeah.
They still have like Nolan Gorman, who hasn't really like gotten his footing as a whole in the majors yet. They have like Jordan Wynn on the way as well as another prospect, right? So like their lineup should be fine. Mason Wynn, sorry.
Jordan Walker is the other one. They have two. It's Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. I combined the two. They have the two of them coming. What I think holds them, and their bullpen is fine. It's fine. It's not incredible.
Giovanni Gallegos is really good.
Yeah.
Jordan Hicks is good.
But I think what holds them back, in my opinion, like I said, is like they don't quite have the high-end arms that you really need to compete like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is weird, and even talking about like Nootbaar and Brendan Donovan, St. Louis does this thing. They've done it for nigh on a decade now, where guys like Nootbaar, Donovan will come up and they'll be really good contributors to a team that makes the postseason. And then what happens?
Then they trade them to Tampa Bay.
They trade them to Tampa Bay or Oakland or whoever.
This was in direct reference to Tommy Pham, by the way.
Tommy Pham, Stephen Piscotty, Randall Grichuk. I can go on and on. There's a million of them. So I don't even know how I feel about St. Louis going into next year, because I don't know if I can trust any of their players to have more than one good year. These guys that, not like a Jordan Walker or Mason Wynn, but these guys that aren't super high level prospects. Nolan Gorman's a really good prospect, so I won't even put him in this category. But there's always something in the water in St. Louis, and they also do it with arms. They did it with Michael Wacha. They did it with Shelby Miller. They did it with Joe Kelly. Like again, I can name a million of them. And at least two of those guys are still in the league. Shelby Miller, who knows what happened to him, but this is what always confuses me about St. Louis. Their roster outside of Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and like Juan Yepez.
I would say you were almost forgetting. Oh, Juan Yepez is another guy who just like kind of showed up and had a really good year.
Outside of the three of them, because they're going to need a catcher to replace Molina, I don't even know who's going to be there. Like,
Dylan Carlson's going to be there.
Dylan Carlson, he could be Stephen Piscotty for all I know. Like,
Tyler O'Neill's going to be there. They got players.
I like Tyler O'Neill. I do like him.
They got players.
But it's just sort of the way they've operated since like the mid 2010s, and it's very strange. And it somehow results in them winning 92 games a year. And I'll never quite understand it, but there's some black magic that goes on there. Yeah, that's it. St. Louis confuses me. But
All right.
they also haven't had like a legit number one any of those years.
Right.
Like a legit ace.
That's the thing, and that's what I think could be proved to be like that's the glaring hole in their roster to me. It's like they have a bunch of like fine guys in the rotation. And I'm saying this without including Wainwright because we don't know if he's pitching next year.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of fine guys in their rotation, but like I don't think they have too many guys or really even any guys that like stand out like that.
Yeah.
Like I like their best pitcher is probably, not including Wainwright, is probably Miles Michaelis. And the thing is that Miles Michaelis might just be the Spider-Man meme with Chris Bassett, which is fine. Like that's good, but like that's not necessarily like the number one starter on your team good.
Yeah.
All right, Austin, I'll throw this last one directly to you because I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me about the Mets.
Man, I don't know about the Mets, man. They're one of the teams that, you said the Blue Jays have glaring weaknesses. The Mets don't really have that like glaring spot where you're like, if they do this, they get better. It's like they just need to play the moments better, play the games better. I don't know if it's management. I don't know if what it is really. I mean, Scherzer didn't really show up for game one. I mean, I don't know. Like their aces just didn't show up at the end of the season and then going into the playoffs. But what can you do? Like they both were dominant most of the season when they pitched. I don't know what you're supposed to do. Pete Alonso and Lindor played very well down the stretch, and I mean Alonso actually had a pretty good series, but Lindor kind of did a lot of nothing. Most of the guys.
Eduardo Escobar had one of the hottest months in baseball coming in. He was
I mean, they had a lineup that was rolling going into the playoffs. I mean, their starters kind of were slacking going into but you thought this was a team that, like, even though they choked away the division, they were at least going to win a series and then make a series of it with the Dodgers. And they just didn't. They just got rolled over, and I don't know what to say.
The Mets are a classic case of bad luck.
Yeah, the Mets are Metsing. Like that's the easiest way. That's the only way I can quantify it. Is like that's the Mets, baby.
Sometimes you play your best baseball at the wrong time. It just happens. There's no quantifying it. There's no statistics to back. Like there's statistics to back it up, but there's no statistics to explain it. The Mets just didn't play their best baseball at the right time. They played their best baseball in July, which is great.
Which is a very Mets thing to do.
And if they would have played the Padres in July or August, the Padres couldn't score a run for 2 months.
Yeah, like if this series happened August 1st, the Mets win both games 8-0, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's just going into the playoffs, they weren't playing their best ball. They couldn't turn it around. The bullpen is a weakness, I will say, because I don't think Edwin Diaz is going to be back. I have a feeling he's going to go somewhere else.
Is he a free agent this offseason?
Yes, he is.
I did not know that.
And he's the type of guy I wouldn't back up the Brinks truck for Diaz just because of the inconsistency he's had in his career.
I'll have to push back on you for 1 second. The inconsistency was one season.
It was 2, wasn't it? Didn't he have one bad
ERA
one
that year?
Didn't he have a bad one in Seattle and a bad one in New York?
2021, he was okay. He had, if you were wondering, his ERA plus last year was 117. His ERA plus his first year with the Mets was 74. That was the year that the Mets fans were just convinced that he was the worst pitcher on planet Earth. But outside of that, he's had an ERA of 3.27 or below in each of the other 5 years of his career.
Okay.
And so he was below better, 2 he was 3 better times.
He was better in his other years than I thought he was. I didn't remember he had been in the league since 2016. I would have said like 2018. Yeah. I can't believe this is his
fourth truly year. I think that as a 28-year-old, if he's the prime candidate, other than like Josh Hader isn't on the market, right? And they're roughly the same age. But like this is the kind of guy, like back end bullpen guy that you bring the money for. In my opinion.
I was wrong on that. He was better than I thought he was. I also I don't love giving relief pitchers a ton of money anyways, just because of how volatile.
Well, yeah, because the
relief
position
pitching
is so volatile.
Yeah, it's. I never think it's a good idea to give a closer like $18 million a year, but it happens all the time anyway. So Diaz was great this year. Ottavino was a revelation for the deal they got him on.
Yeah. The fact that he pitched even remotely well is kind of surprising. Honestly.
Trevor May has not been good. The rest of that bullpen has been hit or miss. I mean, Michael Gibbons went over there and he was awful at first. Then he picked it up and then he was awful again. So
I'll say that makes I will say their bullpen depth isn't very good.
You've got two guys that had tremendous years. Not every day is Scherzer and DeGrom giving you 7 and then you hand it to Ottavino and Diaz.
Yeah.
Like
Adam Ottavino had an ERA of 2 this year.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
He's nasty. Adam
Ottavino had a 2.06 ERA with a 1.88 ERA plus this year.
But yeah, it's just I wouldn't even call it the Mets being the Mets, because usually there's something you can point to where it's like that's what happened. That's when you messed it up.
Yeah,
they didn't have that.
Like,
they got swept by the Braves, and that happens.
Yeah, but I also think like partially it is the fact that like I think what led the Mets to this point is the fact that they played so poorly the last like 3 weeks of the season. Like it's not just the Braves series. They lost a series to the Cubs. They lost a series to the Pirates. Yeah, they were losing games to the Marlins. Like all of those games added up, and to a point where like Atlanta lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins to end the series or end the season. Had the Mets won one singular other game against the Cubs, the Pirates, the Marlins, or anything like that, they would have won the division. So they just kind of got cold at the wrong time. Yeah, basically. Honestly.
Just bad luck for the Mets. Kind of sucks. I was rooting for the Mets. I was in on the Mets.
I am not. I will never root for the Mets, so I think it's very funny, actually. I think it's really, really funny. Mets fans are also like the most sensitive sports fans known to humankind. So we have a good friend of ours from QU who's a huge Mets fan, and we've been razzing him for like the last month, and he's not happy about it. So like he was at game 2, the game they won. He was there, and he left the group chat before the game started. So when he came back almost immediately after they lost game 3. And we were like shitting on him. And then someone chimed in and they were like, yeah, but nobody said anything about the other games in the series. And I was like, yeah, but I really wanted to. And then I just laid it on him. I told him, I was like, wow, 240 million and the best pitcher on planet Earth, all to lose to Joey Lightskin. To get one hit by Joey Lightskin, that's crazy. That's insane. Couldn't be me. You know, I would simply like a team that runs New York, not the Mets.
Fair.
Anyways, that's baseball. So we're gonna move ahead here. Talk a little bit about the upcoming NFL slate this week. I haven't taken much of a look at it. I'll be honest. I was looking at it a little bit earlier. There are a couple things I like, a couple plays I like. The games I'm looking at here, obviously, Bills Chiefs is the marquee matchup of the week here. So I was told this earlier, but again, by friend of the show, Mike Schrader. But did you guys know that 538 like does ratings for games beforehand?
No, I did not.
They rate games on a scale of 1 to 99 in importance and competitiveness. This Bills Chiefs game is the only 99 in 538's history.
Damn.
It's a 99 in both importance and competitiveness. The most recent 98 was last year's Super Bowl, and it was a 99 in importance, but only like a 94 in competitiveness. So it was a 98 on aggregate.
I was really hoping it was going to be like a 92 in importance. Super Bowl.
Fucking Super Bowl. Yeah. So this is the only 99 in the entire time that 538 has been doing this. So yeah, this game, I mean, it's the matchup of now. It is the matchup of the future. Like, there's nothing you can say about Chiefs Bills that hasn't already been said. It's a matchup that we'll be seeing for probably the next decade if things hold up the way they are currently constructed. And not only does it have a super high point total, it's at 54 right now, but you don't often see point totals that high with games this close. Effectively, if the game Buffalo's a 2.5 point road favorite. So it's close as of right now. If the game were in Buffalo, it would obviously be, 5.5, 6 points or something like that, which I think would be a little much. But not even on betting. I just love this game and I'm so excited.
I can't wait to watch this.
To watch it.
Yep.
I work until 4. I think I work 8 to 4 on Sunday. So I'll actually be able to watch the game. I'm so excited. This is the matchup of the year. Obviously, it goes without saying in that respect, but otherwise there are some games that I'm really interested in. Like I'm interested in Ravens Giants. The Giants have my interest now officially.
Yeah.
At 4-1 somehow. Like, is it any question that Brian Dable's coach of the year if the season ended today?
God, no.
Because I think Brian Dable has finally convinced us that we can quantify what good coaching is. Because you got to remember that Brian Dable is one of those coaches where he doesn't handle any of the play calling duties. He has guys that do that, and I personally think that that's kind of the best way to coach. Like, that's why John Harbaugh has been so successful, because he's a special teams guy. Like, he's so used to handling so many different people at once that he's like, you guys call the plays, I will figure out the other things, the personal decisions. And Dable's doing the same thing. They have a offensive coordinator in a man whose name I cannot remember.
It's
Mike Kafka.
Yeah.
Who is, where did Mike Kafka come from recently? Did he come with him from Buffalo?
I didn't think so, because Ken Dorsey was his right-hand man, and he's now the OC in Buffalo.
Let's take a look. Mike Kafka was most recently the quarterback's coach in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, he was Mahomes' quarterback coach. So that's right.
Right. So he brought a coach from an established offensive program along with him to call the plays. He brought at the very least, whatever you can say about his scheme and whether or not it works consistently, and it has so far this year, brought a very experienced defensive play caller in Wake Martindale along with him, and he said, "You guys take care of the units, and I will figure out the rest of it." And you can tell that it is a team that is maximizing their talent, because there's no bullshit about the game in London on Sunday. I don't think there's a single position group where I would say the Giants are better than the Packers.
There isn't, not one.
And yet the Giants outplayed the Packers.
Quarterback.
60 minutes on Sunday. Quarterback. The Giants outplayed the Packers for 60 minutes on Sunday. It's that simple. Like, that's how you quantify coaching, especially with a guy who doesn't call plays and everything like that. I think we've pinned it down thanks to Brian Dable. So good for them, man. Good for the Giants. I'm glad they in theory, they've got their guy. They have a front office that seems to have their head on their shoulders, and they're putting up a competitive product on the field, which is first and foremost. So this game against the Ravens on Sunday should honestly be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Should. Ravens -6.
I'm just throwing it out there,
They haven't, and the Giants are a great story. I like seeing the Giants succeed just because they like to think they're competitive with the Eagles, and I think it's cute. It's Lamar Jackson. I think he's just going to eat up the Giants. There isn't anything about that team that really outwardly impresses me. Outside of the coaching, I mean, Dable, yeah, he's the coach of the year. If the Giants win 6 games this year, he should be coach of the year.
Well, they've already won 4. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like. They could be god awful the rest of the season.
You don't think a team with baby Megatron is any good?
Yeah.
Who are they calling Baby Megatron?
Well, that's what they were calling Kenny Galladay back in the day.
Oh,
true.
Galladay. I forgot that Kenny Galladay existed because he hasn't caught a touchdown pass.
Now, I will say it's a game that I'm probably not going to bet. Just because I'm not all interested in betting.
You never bet road 5.5. Too many points for a road team. You just let the game roll out, Mark. You know, I hope you lose the bet. I hope the Giants shock your world Sunday.
They probably will. They likely will.
Daniel Jones will show who the real running quarterback is.
Do you guys have
he trips over his own 2 feet?
Picks in particular that you guys are looking at? Any games you're looking to bet this week?
It's a weird slate this week, I feel. I like Vikings -3 against the Dolphins because Skylar Thompson is starting for the Fish. Like, I like that, but
we don't know if Skylar Thompson's starting. He likely is, but
from what I saw, it seemed like
if he does, Vikings -3.5 at plus money as it currently is.
Yeah,
sexy. Give me that. I like it.
Yeah, a lot of the lines that I like this week are all road favorites, which I don't like betting at all.
Yeah. There's a
lot.
Well,
I'll tell you, my favorite road favorite of the week is Buccaneers -8.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at too. Man,
I will say my parlay pick is from that game, but it's not the spread.
Ooh.
My parlay pick is going to be Bucks team total over 26.5.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers defense is in shambles.
Right. Their secondary in particular is all sorts of beat up. Not even to mention the TJ Watt of it all, of course, which is been talked about ad nauseum. But yeah, I love the Bucks to put up points. I like them to win big. I would not be afraid of taking 8 points, honestly. But Bucks team total over 26.5 is looking like it's shaping up to be my favorite play of the week. So,
God, I really don't love this. If you want to, I kind of like the Patriots on the money line.
Oof, can't catch me dead betting that.
Cleveland.
Oh God, yeah, that's not a game I'll be touching.
I'm not going to touch it, but the zap is unflapped, baby.
Oh God, who has ever said that before?
I stole that from a podcast I listened to. I'll be completely honest.
I'll tell you, my favorite underdog to play here is Jacksonville because they just beat the Colts every time they play them, and
that's true. They got the Colts this week, don't they?
Yeah.
I like the Jags there as well. There's a podcast before anyone knew that his last name was pronounced Zappy. They were talking about him and they were like, "Yeah, man, you just got to unflap the zap." And I've been in on that ever since. This slate stinks.
I don't know. I like the games themselves. I think it's pretty hard to bet on a lot of these games, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a really good week of football, or at least it should be a fun week of football. But I don't want to bet on any of these.
Yeah.
But we gotta do a parlay. God, what's my parlay pick gonna be? Austin, do you have
a parlay pick? Just give me a parlay pick.
Man, it's gonna be tough pickings here. But I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles -6.5 on Sunday Night Football because it's disgusting. You got to do it. Divisional game. Of course, it's going to be close. Psych. Good defenses. Of course, it's going to be close. Psych. I think the Eagles team shines in prime time. They got a bunch of stars who love showing up when the game's big, when the game's bright. The Cowboys don't look like an explosive enough team to keep up. I mean, obviously their defense is very good, but if the Eagles put up 20-plus points, the game's just over in my mind. The Cowboys just look too dry to be able to keep up with explosiveness, and so I'm riding the Eagles.
Okay.
I know we don't love road favorites. Bengals.
I am
money
ambivalent
line.
towards road favorites, to be fair.
I'm gonna do Bengals money line minus 130 in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
New Orleans stinks. I was very wrong about them going into the season. I thought they were going to be halfway decent. They're not a respectable organization, and I want them to keep losing because Eagles have their draft pick this year.
What a catch by Curtis Samuel.
I'm watching it as you say that. Jesus.
You should have I should have thrown a better ball, to be honest.
You should have thrown a bag on no touchdown score. Apparently, you should have thrown a bag on no point score, brother.
Austin and I have the over in this game. This is atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, to be
That's
fair,
bad.
the Bears should have
That's
14
firmly dead.
points. I mean,
Yeah.
if it was 14-7 at half, I mean, hey,
the Bears have turned the ball over in the red zone twice already.
Inside goal to go. Goal to go twice.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Did we ever get a parlay pick from Josh?
No, we didn't.
Okay, so that's the parlay.
Yeah, that's the parlay. Well, I mean, we can get a pick from him and post it on Sunday.
Yep.
But those are our parlay picks. Tampa Bay over team total, Bengals money line, Eagles minus 6.5. So we're going to move on, close out the show with FanDuel as we do every week. So if you brothers want to pull up your lineup and let it rip for me, one of you can take the stage.
I'll get it out of the way quick. So what had happened is I got really excited yesterday, made my lineup, and then today I said, man, I don't really like my stack this week. So I'll just put in two guys, that I think are going to have an okay week as my placeholder while I think about it. And then I never took those guys out. Those guys are Carson Wentz and Terry McLaurin tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
God.
Terry McLaurin, to his defense, has looked exceptional. Carson Wentz has looked something.
He's looked like the best Thursday night quarterback in NFL history.
He is a tale of two halves guy. I still see him getting 2 touchdowns in this game. I'm not afraid. He'll get me to 15 fantasy points, but yeah, that's the rough stack. I went with 2 running backs this week. One I went with last week that are just going to catch balls. I think I got Ramondre Stevenson against Cleveland with no Damian Harris, and I got Devin Singletary against the Chiefs. The Chiefs play a lot of zone. Devin Singletary likes to catch the ball in zones. I think it's not really that complex. And then my receivers, I talked about Terry McLaurin. He stinks. Well, no, he doesn't stink. The guy throwing the ball stinks. Justin Jefferson against Miami. Miami doesn't have a secondary. They're all dead. None of them are alive. They might play zone.
Miami in general is not alive. They don't have. They might not have Tyreek Hill. Yeah. They're on their third string quarterback.
Last receiver, Amari Cooper, averaging 22 fantasy points at home this season while averaging 3 on the road. Wow. His team is averaging 29 points at home as well this season. They're at home. Just play them. That's the name of the game. Tight end, Zachary Ertz, in a matchup that I think we're going to see a lot of touchdowns for Arizona, a lot of scoring for both teams. Ertz is a guy who Kyler just loves in the red zone, so nothing crazy. A guy who's been getting more and more targets as each week goes by. He's starting to feel like the number one there. Allen Lazard against the Jets. I have to imagine it's a bounce back week for Green Bay in some facet. I mean, you can't lose to the Giants and Jets back-to-back weeks. I mean, that just can't happen. So they're going to want to get the offense going quick, and that involves probably getting to their best receiver. Then my defense who's played pretty poorly this year. However, they are playing Carolina. That is the Los Angeles Rams. They got too many playmakers to continuously be bad on defense. They're playing a bad team who looks like they're lost on the field. There's my defense. There's my lineup.
All right, Mark, why don't you hit us with it?
Yeah, this is my Loserville loser lineup of the week.
Nice.
Hey, Mark, I just looked at the numbers. You and me are starting off strong, brother.
Yeah. I think Nunez and I might have a similar pick here. I'll start with that pick. My defense is one Chicago Bears defense.
They're at 9 points right now because they've gotten a couple sacks and the Commanders have scored 3 points. So
yes, if I remembered that I had them, I wouldn't have bet the over in this game. But what can you do?
They were also like the second cheapest defense or something like that, right? Like they were mad cheap.
Yeah, they were cheap. I want to say they were 3,300.
3,300. Yep.
I've got my Odyssey triple track putter triple stack of the week. That's Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase. Love the Bengals this week against the Saints. My 2 running backs are Ramondre Stevenson, just like Austin, and Latavius Murray, because whenever I find out he's back in the league, that makes me happy. Go Syracuse. He
might not even be available this week for the Broncos, I don't think.
If he isn't, I'll change my lineup.
Are you just gonna next year? Are you just gonna start Sean Tucker every week?
Oh yeah. Well, Tave didn't go to SU. He's from Syracuse. Like grew up like 5 minutes from my house.
I see.
So when it makes me happy whenever I see him back on a roster. So yeah, he'll be in my FanDuel lineup this week. Why not? I'm gonna lose again. My other receiver, aside from the Bengals guys, is Devin Duvernay. Like I said, I like that matchup against the Giants this week. They haven't faced a guy like Lamar Jackson yet this season. Devin Duvernay is proving to be a very good quality target for Lamar. My tight end also won Zachariah J. Ertz IV.
Let's go.
Same reasoning as Austin. I like him to find the end zone against I'm still going to say a stinky Seattle team. I'm still not in on the Seahawks. And my flex in a game that should be amazing, Stephon Diggs against the Kansas City Chiefs. I saw what Devontae Adams did to that secondary last week, and oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, and it could have been a lot worse because he was getting open all the effing way, and he only managed 3 catches and still managed to destroy them.
So I like, if Devontae Adams is going to do that, I think Stephon Diggs can do that as well. Pretty simple.
Yeah. All right, so this is my Gerber baby great lineup of the week. Game stack here, we're going to be looking at a game that, is probably, I didn't look at the total for it, but I assume it's got a pretty high total comparatively to the rest of the slate. And that's Seattle, Arizona. We're going with value plays here, right? So this might even be more of a tournament play, although probably not. I'm going with Geno Smith and his 2 best pass catchers, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Now, as I'm looking at it right here, it's 50.5 is the implied total for this game. So it is high. Geno Smith has been a top 6 quarterback in fantasy so far this year against an Arizona defense that somehow gives up more fantasy points to quarterbacks than the Seattle defense does. So Arizona, Seattle creates for fireworks, especially with fantasy quarterbacks. Geno Smith with his top 2 pass catchers. And we're going to run it back with Rondale Moore, who came back last week. And with the reinsertion of AJ Green to the lineup, moved back into the slot. And basically started going back to his like low ADOT bullshit that they were doing with him last year. But that could lead to higher targets and maybe he breaks a big play, right? He's not super expensive for a wide receiver. He's at 5,600. So I wanted to run it back with something. And again, that's more of a tournament play. Like I like Rondale Moore in GPPs this week, for example. Running backs, big cash plays for me. Ramondre Stevenson, probably going to be the most popular running back in DFS this week. His legitimate potential to be a top 5 fantasy running back as long as Damian Harris is out. And in a Cleveland game in which the game should be close, he should be fully involved at all times. We're running it back on the other side of the game with David Njoku, who has pretty quickly established himself as one of the few mildly stable tight end options in fantasy. He's gotten at least 5 targets in 4 of the 5 games that he's played so far, at least 6 in each of the last 3. And that's enough to play as a fantasy tight end. So last 2 players here are both running backs, and both running backs who are poised for big roles in games this week. First of which being Jeff Wilson Jr., starting running back for the San Francisco 49ers, a game against Atlanta, which they should be playing from the lead. They should be able to run the ball pretty successfully. He's had at least 18 touches in each of their last 3 games. Unquestionably the number 1 running back in San Francisco. And generally speaking, this is more of a season-long thing. The number 1 running back for the 49ers until further notice is a top 15 fantasy running back. Next question, we move on there. My final player in the flex is Alvin Kamara. Came back last week, had a fantastic game against the Seahawks. I know it's the Seahawks, yada, yada. 194 total yards on 29 touches. So it looks to be that rib injury is likely behind him, and he could be returning pretty quickly to that bell cow role as well. And most importantly, with his involvement in the passing game as well. So has he yet to score this year. Maybe he scores against a Bengals rush defense that hasn't been too great. Just putting that out there. I also like Melvin Gordon a lot this week, even though I don't have him in my lineup. Should have high involvement as the guy there in Denver. LA's rush defense still hasn't been very good this year. Who the hell knows, right? And then my defense is the Chicago defense because they were cheap, and I figured this game would not feature very many points. And I'm right. So,
until the second half.
Yeah, I'm right so far as the first half goes, I should say.
Yeah.
We will see what happens in the second half. But yeah, that's my Gerber Baby great FanDuel lineup of the week. And that wraps for the 3 of us here. So Mark, yeah, I'll also thank you, Mark, for reassuming his role as producer on this program. He made an overlay that's been in the top of the screen this entire time. I hope you've enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't created in like MS Paint or some shit.
Hey, it was GIMP.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was GIMP. Justin Fields, by the way, is being thrown around like a rag doll. If they could get someone to protect him, I'd rather him not die today. But anyways,
yeah,
his ribs are getting smoked.
Yeah. I didn't do any of the housekeeping at the top, so I'm going to do it now. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. You see the stuff scrolling down there. Follow us individually on Twitter, right? Follow the show here on YouTube. That means subscribe to the channel. Like this video. Comment on the video as well if you feel like commenting. And then hit the notification bell so you know when we have new content coming out. We'll be back next week. We appreciate you for watching. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.